Right. So I'll get you all involved in a sec. So I'm talking about the anticipatory supply chains. This was an article you see here written by Kelly Machis, Deloitte Insights. Now, I'll go through briefly some aspects of the paper, but I can tell you this. And first of all, let me explain this. Anticipatory supply chain models. So what does that mean? An anticipatory supply chain model is a supply chain model or concept that tries to anticipate demand, basically, right? Tries to understand demand and anticipate when customers will require X item, what color, what size, what shape, which region, etc. With me on that. So anticipatory supply chains. That's where we are at now. And how are we doing that? We are doing it through data. Data is king right now. So we're doing it through data. All right. So remember, we just spoke about machine learning. So artificial intelligence is using machine learning, which is tracking, monitoring your buying patterns and so on, spending patterns, right? And it's, that information is fed to all these large organizations, right? So they can apply predictive analytics to help them understand what I just mentioned. Now, just going into a little case here. Now, Toyota is an interesting case. Toyota, right? So let's look at Toyota as an example. And I'm just going to read. So let me just read a small piece of it from the top. Toyota got a wake-up call back in 2011, March of 2011, and by extension, so did everyone else who believes in disciplined operation management. So, disciplined operations management, that could relate to so many things. It could relate to being lean as well. Now, that was when the earthquake, registering some 9.0 on the Richter scale, hit northern Japan, unleashing a massive tsunami. In the coastal community, directly in its path, right, the human toll was devastating. Yes, the death toll was devastating. All right, and the rebuilding task was a monumental one. The world watched nervously as the damaged Fukushima nuclear power plant, yes, threatened to melt down. Later for Toyota, it became evident how awful this natural disaster was for its global business. The company had recently attained the position of best-selling automaker worldwide, right? So, yeah, I want to read the story. So here's the thing. Over the course of many years, it had taken the slack out of its operations. So let me explain that. Toyota took the slack out of its operations. You know what that means? It means that they took the buffer out. You know what that means? It means that Toyota removed buffer inventories. There was no buffer inventory. There was no buffer stock. There was no safety stock. Right, so they removed slack out of the inventories. That is a project management term as well. All right, so here's the thing: if there's no buffer, or if there's no extra or no safety stock, then once there's a disaster, you are left in a very vulnerable position. So this is what happened to Toyota. All right, so to make a long story short, all right. Toyota eventually switched from a response based model to a anticipatory based model. You with me in that? So Toyota, they found themselves to be too lean, and they actually changed. So let me read this part. Toyota set out to revamp its supply chain in such a way that the time required to recover from large-scale disruptions would be reduced to at most 2 weeks. It wasn't possible to get that goal simply by learning. Sorry. simply by okay, that I can't find that last part. Anyway, Toyota supply system had to learn to anticipate problems rather than being responsive. So to anticipate problems, if you do something like that, you're likely to hold stock. So I'm trying to understand the market and I'm anticipating in advance what will be required. And once I do that, I'll hold certain inventories. That is very different to a very response-based approach, which is a more lean approach, which is an approach that promotes just in time, which we'll talk about later on, right? So the management embarked on an initiative to expose vulnerability and rank them in terms of likelihood and potential impact. But the main thing I want you to observe is this: Toyota moving away or moving into an anticipatory based model, all right, as compared to a lean model. A lean model is a model that will have little or no stock, no buffer, no slack. Testing 1, 2, 3.